we know who our enemies are, the ISIS-K, the ISIS, the Taliban, the list goes on and on and on. Who are our biggest allies in the Middle East, right? And where are they housed? Like where were these guys based out of? Obviously, we know Israel. Mm-hmm. Who else is on our list of allies? We know the enemies. Who are the allies?
So to me, it's kind of a tough question because it depends on what position you take and who you are, even within our government. Mm-hmm. Having said that, Jordan historically has been what I would consider probably our biggest ally in the region outside of Israel. I don't think Saudi, for a number of reasons, which would be its own episode by itself, doesn't have any of our best interest in mind, 9/11 being a clear-cut example. And in all the rest of the countries, it's not that black and white as far as just like with our country, right? Is that you've got, even within our government, you've got mm-hmm. people on polar opposite spectrums of.
So there's no countries other than Israel or Jordan you would put on that list. What about regions or types like the Kurds? We'd always hear about the Kurds are great fighters and they were fighting against ISIS.
The northern third of Iraq is generally a considerable ally for us, mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But we've turned our back on them a few times and totally sold them out. So. To say that they're a staunch ally and we can depend on them, I wouldn't say.
Well, I remember Trump caught a lot of heat about pulling out and basically people don't recall as much heat as Biden took in Afghanistan for the sloppy withdrawal. There was a brief period of time where Trump was taking a lot of heat from abandoning the Kurds. Not as big as Afghanistan, because people don't know that, but do you recall that?
Not really, and maybe that's the media portion. I don't know. To me, the abandonment of them happened well before he got in office. I mean, it happened 4 years prior to that. It happened, in my opinion, midway through Obama's term. So, to me, to pin that on Trump, I think is disingenuous because it's. The rise of ISIS took place halfway through Obama's term without question.
Mm-hmm.
So
when he called them the JV.
And he just he pulled basically all of the territory that we had all of the regions and areas in Iraq that we had fought so hard to secure, just like we did in Afghanistan, and basically just pulled everybody back, withdrew almost every troop from the region, and just let ISIS steamroll through there and. The things that they did there was, hard to even wrap your mind around. And that took place for years before Trump came in office.
Does the United States always need to have a presence in the Middle East?
I don't think so. No,
really?
I don't think so. No, I take much more of I would say, bordering on isolationist viewpoint in terms of foreign policy at this point. To me, I tend to reduce foreign policy all the way down to such a micro level like a bar fight. Right, and to me, they're interchangeable that way. Is that you're walking by your favorite club, right, and there's a huge fight going on. Now you can walk in there and you can help the guy that has 4 dudes pinning him down and bashing his head in, or you can help the woman that's getting slapped around. Whatever it is, just by walking in there, you're going to piss somebody off. Mm-hmm. No matter who you help, you're going to piss somebody off, and you're going to create enemies, right? And so. To me, I think World War II is the most clear-cut example on how to handle things at a geopolitical or international level where you don't get involved until you have to, but when you do, you take the fucking gloves off and you go over there until the job is done, and you do whatever is necessary Tecumseh Sherman style from the Civil War.
But isn't that what we did after 9/11? We were kind of out of Afghanistan.
For about 2 months.
We were out of Afghanistan. We had no involvement in Afghanistan, and then we went.
No, Qatar, Bahrain, Saudi. Exercises in Jordan, joint operations in Israel. We've been heavily footprinted in the Middle East way more than we need to be for decades. It started back in honestly when the first Persian Gulf War took place, and we got bombed in Saudi Arabia for being there. That's really when it really started, in my opinion, where. The hardline groups, specifically Al-Qaeda, that was born out of Saudi allowing us to have troops in the region to defend Kuwait. That pissed Osama bin Laden off to the point where he created Al-Qaeda because of that. So, to me, there's been a lot of involvement that we've had that's unnecessarily created problems that that we're still paying for and probably will for decades.
Do these people fear the United States military?
For sure they do.
They do.
100%. And even just as recent as 7 months ago, that the fact that we had 2,500 troops in Afghanistan and they still weren't doing anything until Biden was like, yeah, we're actually leaving, and they closed down the airbase. Mm-hmm. the fact that just 2,500 troops held the Taliban at bay, because you saw how fast they took the country over, right?
It was supposed to be months, and then it
right.
literally was days.
It wasn't 2,500 troops. It was the fact that we still had a presence there, and they knew if they tried to do that while we still were taking the stance of we are here, that it would have been 2.0 Afghanistan. We would have come back in and they would have paid for it. I mean, you can see it in their operations with attacking certain bases and knowing when, how long they have before, close air support is going to be there. I mean, there's a healthy respect for it, or they would have done what they did 7 months ago, 18 years ago. There's a reason they didn't do it that entire time.
Got it.
How worried should we be that we left behind, what was it, $80 billion of military equipment?
I mean, at this point, to be worried about it, I think, is fruitless. But is it a kick in the gut? Yes, absolutely. Do I think that they're going to take those assets and now, launch attacks into America? No, I don't. I think it sucks. Is it going to turn them into an overnight success? No, it isn't. I mean, if you look at how much money we put into forces in Iraq and Afghanistan and doing, foreign internal defense with a lot of other countries over there, we've spent at this point trillions of dollars on equipment and training. I mean, I've worked with guys before. To have the capabilities that the United States has takes a whole nother level of generational dedication that just isn't there. So am I worried about it? Ultimately, no. Does it piss me off? Yes, it does.
So if you enjoyed this little short segment from the podcast that we did, here's another short segment to watch. Or if you want to see the entire podcast, click over here. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.